Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Matt Bernier taking a look at race number 8 at Aqueduct on Saturday. It's the $125,000 Queens County Stakes. Let's take a look at this field. We're traveling 1 1/8 miles, and there is a 90% chance of rain forecast for the New York area on Saturday. So certainly factor that into your handicapping. 9 entered for the Queens County. Chad Brown is the morning line favorite with Javier Castellano. That is the number 9 Kuralov. Watershed for Kieran McLaughlin, the 7-2 second choice. If you're betting the Queens County, if you're betting any race across the country and across the globe, $200 free bet, no deposit required when you join DRF Bets. DRF.com/join. Promo code FREEBET09. Let's begin, Matt, with your favorite horse of all time.
My son.
Your new son.
Well, he is one of my sons.
He is now a son.
Yeah,
the number 1 Discreet Lover, who you said was a mortal cinch last time out in the Sortara Stakes. I did not listen to you. Not only did Discreet Lover just sort of shrug me off and shrugged off the competition, but one of the horses he shrugged off, Fear the Cowboy, flattered him greatly last week at Gulfstream.
Yeah, he earned a 105 when he won the Harlan's Holiday, but I think you kind of hit the nail on the head when we went over that Swatara up at Penn National. It felt like that was probably a race that Fear the Cowboy needed off of a layoff, so he probably didn't. It was probably the perfect situation for this horse, Discreet Lover. I guess the only concern I have is I think he's in raging form. I love that Uriah St. Louis now is putting him in races that he actually belongs in, as opposed to running in the Whitney and the Woodward against Gunrunner, because that's never going to work. Now you're in spots where you can win races. I will say he was out there on a soft lead most recently. It helped when the other horse that figured to take money in there, I believe it was Tommy Macho, he scratched the day of the race.
That's right.
And I thought you needed to be forwardly placed, and he was out there. So he's going to have to run much better if he's going to win in a race like this. 1 1/8, I don't love. I think he's probably better a little bit shorter. I think he's capable of this. I just think he's going to work out another good trip in here.
Yeah, I think a good ground-saving, pace-tracking trip is coming. And if you think the horses on the lead are a bit dicey at this distance or may not like a wet track, this horse might just fall into a beautiful trip. I mean, this barn is low profile. It almost ensures that this horse is going to be a good price when he ships to
playable
big
anyway.
surfaces in New York or Gulfstream, etc., as long as he's not taking on Gunrunner. Right. He's a sharp horse right now, and 4-1 on the morning line is very fair. Watershed is a horse that I'm against in here, and I do realize you can make an argument. In the Richard Small last time out at Laurel, it was his first start off a little bit of a layoff. He ended up battling for the lead, and he packed it in late. But this is a horse that always seems to take money. I'm not sure I trust him.
I don't trust him. I never have. Well, I shouldn't say that. When he debuted, I thought he was unbelievable, and I just don't think he's ever gotten any better. And I think the problem now is, you know, for some reason, he's a bit of a reputation horse where he's going to get bet in each one of his races. I would imagine he'll be one of the 2 or 3 choices in this spot, and I just don't think he has any kind of edge on this field.
Let's take a look at the Timeform U.S. pace projector for this race. And the wonderful thing about the pace projector, folks, is you're supposed to handicap it. The pace projector is the number 9, Kuralov, on the lead, with the 8, Alex the Terror, sitting in second, and the 2, Do You Know Something, sitting third. I disagree with the pace projector. If you read Dave Grenning's race advance on DRF.com, Chad wasn't happy, I don't think, that Kuralov was on the lead last time out. I think with the speed of Alex the Terror to his inside, a horse that might be questionable at this distance, I think he'll be very happy to gather back. I think the 2 and the 8 will share the lead, with the 1 and the 9 sitting in the second flight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think with that 9 post as well, don't you want to play the break and see what happens? I mean, if for some reason somebody misses the break, sure, you can take advantage, but there is no rush from out there at 1 1/8. I suppose maybe if you don't want to lose too much ground, but I agree. I kind of feel like Alex the Terror is kind of the horse that you need to make a decision on with this race, because his first start for Todd Pletcher was a market improvement. He was always a nice horse. He moved up in a giant way. And if you think that 1 1/8 is going to be doable for him, which is the great unknown, I think he's a major player.
It's a huge unknown because this horse has run 32 times. And you're right, he's a nice horse. He's run a quarter of those starts. And last time out, first time Pletcher, 98 Beyer speed figure, far and away. Well, not far away, but the best of his career. Yeah. And you know his speed is dangerous. But 1 1/8 is questionable. With 32 starts, very rare do we see him run around 2 turns. Todd has him sharp. He's taking a shot. If you believe, you might be rewarded. He is 12-1 on the morning line. And while he beat Giftbox, everyone's sort of punching bag recently, a horse that never panned out, he did look good doing it at a 1-turn mile. We'll see if he can get the distance. Let's talk a little bit about the 2, Do You Know Something, was claimed by a very high percentage conditioner in Robertino Diodoro. This is a horse that you're a little curious about the 1 1/8, but he had, you know, his prior trainer, AC Avio, had no qualms about running him even longer.
Yeah, you know, the weird thing is, I feel like just because all of these horses can get a distance, it's just a matter of how fast are they going to do it and how is the race run. So, okay, you may have run at 1.5 miles. You see his overall record, he's 0-for-7 at 1 1/8, 5 times second or third. I look at it and say his best runs come when he's very forward. I don't think he has the ability to be very forward and be able to hang around at a 1.1 miles. If you give me a 1.5 miles pace, I think he can make a 1.1 miles work. I'd be very surprised if we got a 1.5 miles kind of pace in this race.
He earned a big figure over a wet track 2 starts back, which on the surface sounds great. But let's be warned that his 2 triple-digit Beyer speed figures have come on the lead in races over racetracks that were just intensely speed favoring. I think the track really added to those numbers. Do you know something might have to deal with the 8 early, and that could take some of the starch out of him. If you're looking for a price horse, a sharp one with an okay formulator fact, here's the 7 Zanatti. Trainer Juan Carlos Guerrero ships in from Parks. For the past couple of years with last out winners off a moderate-sized layoff in dirt rounds, 33%, a lot of favorites. Usually when you see a sharp horse go on the bench, it's not a good sign, but Guerrero does get them to win a third of the time. After being claimed for $30,000, he's run 7 times for this barn, 4 wins, 3 seconds, but nowhere near the class of horse he's facing on Saturday.
That's the only problem. I just think he's coming back in a pretty salty spot. I don't think we're loaded with superstars in here, but this is going to need to be the best race of his career if he's going to be competitive.
Backside of the Moon goes out for trainer Leo O'Brien, and I still have not forgiven Backside of the Moon for his race 3 starts back, going a 1-turn mile and an 1/8 when he had the restricted Seattle Slew Stakes all sewn up. It was all over. They were saying good night, Irene. And Securitas somehow came back and beat him. Backside of the Moon since then has found ways to lose. How is he getting over the hump here?
I don't think he is. And you know what? It's one of those things. Securitas is a horse that we'll talk about here in a minute, but Securitas likes to run second a lot. So when you give it up to Securitas, to me, that's just a tough thing. And I wondered too. I think he's a little bit better going shorter.
And while Securitas earned that stakes win 2 starts back, the argument could be made that it wasn't as much as he wanted, but that Backside of the Moon lost it. Securitas then, like Watershed, came off a little bit of a layoff in the Richard Small and ran evenly. I think a Beyer's speed figure of a 95 or so is going to win. This horse has done it before, but not recently.
No, and I guess he's just the kind of horse that I would like to use underneath. I think he's going to come up with a run. Don't think he's good enough.
Chad Brown formulator fact for you. That's Kuralav. This is the horse we talked about who Timeform US has on the lead. I think he'll be sitting off it. This is a remarkable number. For the past 4 years, Chad in dirt routes going second off the layoff in non-graded stakes. Not only is he 7 for 11, he's 5 for his last 5, including a win a couple of years ago in the Queens County. So that's a very strong fact. This horse is the morning line favorite. I'm not sure he's going to be a strong favorite. He'll be playable if you believe, and maybe he just simply needed that race last time.
You know, to me, he's a fascinating horse because I wonder. I have no interest in him in this race, none whatsoever.
I'm against also.
But I wonder could he end up being something next year as a 5-year-old because that 1 start. Keep in mind he hadn't started since May 6th. Now he probably wants to go a little bit farther. You see what he was doing down in Chile. He was going farther distances. This is probably what he wants to do. The outside post, Chad made it clear he would rather him be taken just off the pace as opposed to being on it. I wonder if this horse, if he runs well here on Saturday, and the wet track shouldn't be a concern, he's 1 for 1 over it, I wonder if maybe this is bigger and better things next year as a 5-year-old.
Before we get to our top picks, we have to talk about a major contender in this race, and one of the 3 I want to use in multiple race wagers, and that's the 3-year-old, the number 4, Senior Investment. Senior Investment, if you look at his recent form, the Ontario Derby was over a synthetic track. I'm not going to hold that race against him. The Belmont Derby is on turf. That's not his game. I won't hold that against him. And in the Belmont Stakes, he probably wasn't going to win anyway, but he was 8 to 1 and he had all kinds of trouble going into the first turn. We'll throw that out. If you throw those 3 races out, you're left with the Preakness, where he ran an okay third.
Sure.
And then in the Discovery last time out, where Control Group, just a sharp horse, got a big jump on him turning into the stretch. I like the try that this horse showed. And while he's a discreetly mined, he's one of the few discreetly minds I think are going to get 9. Scopy, good-looking boy. All he needs is pace. Is he going to get it?
I don't know that he's going to get it. And you know, the other problem I have with this horse, I think he's nice. I think he wants to go farther. And Kenny McPeak has even said it. He goes, you know, probably wants to run a little bit longer. The problem is, in North America, we don't have many instances where you're going a heck of a lot longer than 9. I think he's a nice horse. He's going to need a meltdown, though.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Queens County Stakes. Matt, you're going with your son. I love loyalty.
Hey, man.
Discreet lover. If you get the 4 to 1, you're betting.
Probably so. I just think it's one of those instances where this is a horse. It becomes easy to fall into it. We all fall into it when he loses. Well, he never was given an opportunity to have a chance of winning. You're not going to beat Gunrunner. Nobody's going to beat Gunrunner. So when you keep throwing him to the wolves like that, there's a reason he looks terrible on paper, but he really isn't that bad. I think this is where he fits. Maybe he doesn't win, but I think he's going to run an honest race.
You're going to go 1, 8, 9, and 4. I'd love to sit here and say, in Todd I trust, I love Alex the Terror. I picked Alex the Terror, but very much like our DRF Bets race of the day, this race for me is more along the lines of a race wager where I'm spreading. I'm going to use Discreet Lover. I'm going to use the 8 Alex the Terror, who hopefully can establish the lead over a track that he likes at Aqueduct and maybe, just maybe, holds on if they leave him alone. And I'm also going to use the number 4, Senior Investment, from Off of the Pace. The 2, Do You Know Something, to me is sort of like an underneath horse, bottom trifecta, superfecta. 8, 1, 2, 4 for me, but using the 1, 4, and 8 in multiple race wagers. Again, if you're playing the Queens County from home, please sign up to DRF Bets. You'll immediately be rewarded with a $200 free bet, no deposit required. All you have to do is go to drf.com/join, use the promo code FREEBET09. An approximate post time for the Queens County, the 112th running of the Queens County, 3:47 Eastern. Best of luck.